Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Nickel and Dime cluster of Gender and Societies Roundtable for the month of July. Today, we will be discussing the much serious issue of violence going on in the northeastern state of Manipur, the Kuki-Meitei violence, and specifically how it came down to women's body in a different way than how the whole community is facing the violence related to religion and minority numbers and other reasons, other social, cultural, and political reasons, and how this was sort of provoked by the viral video that went around of two women getting harassed and assaulted and paraded naked by the men of the Meiji government. So today, in this roundtable, we will be discussing how women's bodies become the site of conflict itself uh, when 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 there is conflict between communities to other reasons, conflict in identities and cultural perspectives and opinions. So on the panel today, we have Suniti, Apurva, Anvita, and me, Oshi, will be moderating this panel and the discussion itself. So to start off the conversation, um, let's first discuss what the conflict is about. Why are the Kuki and Meiji communities sort of coming together and engaging in this really serious violence against each other, and why has there been hundreds of deaths and displacement of thousands of people in the northeastern state of Manipur? So first Apurva and then Sunidhi.
First of all, the main reason that started this conflict was started around 10 years before. But the immediate reason for this conflict was the recent Manipur High Court order where they asked the Manipur government to actually give the Meitei tribe some reservation so that they could also be in the scheduled tribe list, so they wanted the government to send a recommendation to the central government. uh, the Meitei tribe in question, which includes around like 53% of the population and are mostly economically and are also politically very strong in the state of Manipur. And also, this inclusion will give them rights like land rights and also other political rights. The Kuki tribe, on the other hand, they are the minority Christian tribes in the government in the state of Manipur, and also they think if the Meitei tribes are given the reservation, which includes the land rights, they think that Meitei tribes will also take all the important tribal lands from the state of Manipur, and they will not have any much left for them. And also, as I already said, the Meitei tribe enjoy very powerful government positions. The current chief minister of Manipur belongs to the Meitei tribe. So the Kukis, which are predominantly Christian tribe, they belong to the Chin tribe of Myanmar. They are against reservation because they feel they're already very politically and economically powerful. Also, the current ongoing violence, the day it started was on May 2, which started by the All Tribal Students Union Manipur, which held a solidarity march in all Manipur districts to oppose the recent Manipur High Court judgment.
Thanks, Apurva. Sunidhi, if you'd like to add anything.
Yeah, so like this is the basic idea. Basically, the conflict between Meitei and Kuki-Zomi tribe, which includes basically the Kuki tribe and the Zomi tribe of the Naga people, who are also minority in the area. And like she mentioned, that after the solidarity march that took place in the sorry, just a second, in the area of Churanchad, Churachandpur, where No, where there is a Kuki-dominated hill district, there was the first incident of violence. The mob turned violent. It was a peaceful march, but it turned violent, due to which all of the conflicts sort of started. I would like to point out to one more thing, that is that basically I was reading somewhere that one of the reasons for this conflict, of course, is because we know when India got independent, sort of at that time also the northeastern states had a lot of tribes, and even after the formation of states, it was very difficult to sort of give identity to each and every tribe, because they were like too many. And so that is why at that point in time there were hill councils or state councils that were made for each tribe for representation in that area. Now the problem is that this has led to a sort of divide in between various tribes, where there is state and non-state factors. When we talk about state, they are those people who have a sort of administrative strength or a structure to themselves, while there is a non-state factor. This came up during the British times, when uh, British government made a state. Basically, they made a civilization, and they divided the indigenous population as someone who's not civilized, who does not have a proper structure of state. Right now, something like that is going ahead with the myth. What I understand out of it, that it's the Methi tribe which forms sort of the state, which has the power, like she mentioned, the CM, and the majorities with the Methi tribe. And it is at this point the Kuki Zomi tribe is facing what we say is what non-state factors face.
Important points by both of you. First of all, the sort of basics of the conflict itself, in terms of the Meitei community, which is, I would like to point out, is a Hindu community as compared to the Christian belief of the Kuki community itself. So, of course, that's also where they hold religious power in politically as well, because of course the rule of the BJP government in the state of Manipur does play out like as a major influence in that sense as well. And I like what Sunidhi pointed out as well about even even the formation of the states itself having such a major impact so many years later on how the dynamics between these tribes and these communities are playing out. Um, in different manners in relation to different identities. To sort of move on to the next question from here on. In what forms are women specifically experiencing a different layer of violence in the state? Because what they are experiencing is completely different from sort of the larger experience of conflict and violence by both the Kuki and the Meitei community. Because when it comes down to violence, it doesn't really leave any stone unturned. It's not that Meitei community has power over here, so their community won't suffer the violence that are going around the state. So what in what ways do you guys think there's violence inflicted on women in different ways in the state? Maybe.
Yeah, so when we talk about what women face in this, the general statement, I would say, not something specific to what is happening over here, is that generally women are considered a epitome of honor, an epitome of sort of someone's respect, someone's honor, and that sort of uh, attacking on that is considered as an attack on that complete community, on that person, basically. That stems from the fact that women is someone's property, and you attack someone's property, something someone owns, that sort of that gets into the conflict. It is considered a crime. From that basic idea stems the violence that any woman faces in any sort of conflict, whether we see the Russia Ukraine war, or any war in the past, and this conflict as well. Here, women are being attacked as an attack on the community, as an attack on the honor of the community, to humiliate the community, to sort of get them on their knees and to tell them that they do not have, they are not equal to the other community, and the other community is more powerful than them. They are being used as an object to they are being used as an object to attack the opposition. They are being used as an object to sort of tell them that, you are not capable of protecting your own. How can you protect your rights, or how can you come in power and protect things as a whole?
Thanks, Anvita, and then Apurva.
Yeah, so firstly, it is important to note that these forms of violence are interconnected. And women in Manipur may experience multiple layers of violence, right? Like, for example, sexual violence and domestic violence and intimate partner violence and a lot of human rights abuses. Like, there are being like not very much of a concern in a wider space because they look through the lens of isolation, and addressing these issues require a comprehensive approach that involves like protection, justice, support services, and efforts to address the root cause of conflict and gender-based discrimination. Civil society organizations, government agencies, and international bodies play a vital role in advocating women's rights for promoting peace and stability in the region.
Thanks, Apurva, if you'd like to mention.
So, Sunidhi already mentioned the how women are seen as the honor of the communities, and by raping them, we can say the men are taking away their honor. They're also showing their superiority, and how the women are placed very below in the hierarchy, in the social hierarchy. And also, we can see in the video, it started another cycle of violence against Kuki tribal women by the Meitei men. Um, they have been like especially in the northeastern areas, rape has been used as a form of violence against these women. And like even throughout history, like Sunidhi mentioned, the UK Russia war, and also the Indian partition, we can see in the video that the 21-year-old was brutally gang raped and also murdered in broad daylight by the Meitei men, with the women's gender, geography, caste, and class, and when they intersect, they experience violence in multiple forms and layers. So even before the current incident, there have been cases of tribal women being raped by the armed forces that have been placed there specifically to stop the conflict and also to avoid to protect these citizens basically. But instead, all these armed men, what they are doing is raping these women because they are also getting this safety shield by the state. uh, uh, and also they have it has led to like a vast number of human rights violations and killings just because of laws like a FASPA. And women are the one who ultimately falls prey to such conflicts, like between the tribes like these two, and also between the state and its citizens.
Thanks. An important point you bring up is the violence inflicted by the armed men, which is it has been a serious issue for I would say decades, specifically in the northeastern states. Even Assam had a string of protests held by women who were consistently um, sexually assaulted, harassed by the men stationed there for defense defense purposes. So this has been going around for a very long time, but especially during times of conflict when these issues come to light and get more intense, with the sort of vulnerability that the communities are subjected to. So while this is going on, what are the sort of responses by the state itself to the violence? because as one of you mentioned, the conflict has been going on since May, and this video came out a couple of weeks ago, a week ago, if I'm not wrong. And it's I think it's been more than 70 days, and it has affected thousands, lakhs of people in violent ways. So clearly somewhere the state is also lacking, which of course it is. What has been the response? So maybe you'd like to start.
So yeah, that is what I was telling when we talk about the layers of violence that the women are going through. It is not just the people or people of the community who are sort of assaulting or harassing the women, but on a larger goal, the first stage is when they go through that particular that particular incident, and the second stage is that even after going through the incident there is no action taken, there is no justice served, there is nothing done by the administration, the police, the government, or anyone in the state machinery. That is the second stage or the second level of violence that is being uh, committed against the women, and that is basically the violation of human rights. Because when we talk about the response of the state, it is a well-known fact that, like the chief minister knows the violence has been going on, and after the video surfaced, uh, the person who was on the advisory post to the chief minister resigned, stay taking the responsibility. But just taking the responsibility, does that help solve the problem? Does that help reduce such kind of issues? And on top of that, not just this, since it's such a big issue, this requires, and again, because Manipur, in fact, most of the northeastern states are volatile areas where conflicts are not a new thing. So technically, it comes under under country's integrity and unity and defense policy. So the center should be taking measures on this, but there was no statement by the prime minister for the longest time. Even after the video came up, for almost next 3 4 days, the prime minister did not express anything. In fact, the Supreme Court Suomoto took action, stating that if the central government does not do something, then they would be stepping in. But the government did not take up any steps. Technically it was after 70 days and more so that one arrest was made, which is also not supported by evidence. So that is the kind of injustice that the women are going through, the harassment women are going through on a larger level, that there is no machinery to support them even after something as brutal as this has happened to them.
Thanks, Sunidhi. Apurva?
Yeah, first, I would like to bring this like how Twitter is such a powerful platform, and because the internet was banned there, then after only like 2 months, the videos resurfacing, we're actually getting to know what such a heinous crime occurring in a year like 2023. Although the state's response has been very lukewarm. First of all, the FIR was filed very late, after around like a month, and the excuse they gave us that because previous cases has been filed, so the police officers did not get any time to file the FIR of that person. And like Sunidhi said, the prime minister also took around 80 days to actually react on the violence that has been going around in Manipur. Even the chief minister, even though he knew, but he didn't really take any strict actions. He started only doing things when the video became viral on Twitter. And wait, I forgot my point. Okay, no, that's it.
That, that's all right. You can add later if you want to. Uh, but yeah, it's important to point out that the state has been in an internet shutdown for the past 2 months, 2.5 months or so, and it's very central to the whole issue because it has taken away the freedom of speech and sort of created a barrier around the whole state from sharing any issues at all from outside of the area of the state itself. And we all know it's not a new issue that northeastern states are consistently neglected uh, throughout the country by the whole country, and the people have been subjected to alienation in so many ways, especially because of their appearance and how consistently women's bodies from the northeastern states are sexualized in so many ways, and they are called such slurs related to their identities, their different features. So yeah, exactly what both Sunidhi and Apurva pointed out about the state's failure in the whole response to such a serious issue that has been going around in the state of Manipur. And and this is where internet is like specifically controlled to take away um powers that that even the most common of people um, hold of them, uh, regardless of their standing, because they internet is something that most people have access to express their views, their problems, the violence that they've been suffering with. Um, Sunidhi, you would like to add something, sir?
Yeah, since we were discussing about internet and the the internet shutdown during the conflicts, it was just a food for thought that the government has a reason to shut down internet and state that it is for security purposes, and they do not want any sort of rumors going around, or they do not want things to go out of proportion. But at the same time, internet is the way the world connects. The a place like Northeast, which already has connectivity issues northern to the central areas of India since the independence of the country. Internet is a way to get to know what exactly is happening in such an extreme situation. What do like how does a person reach to a conclusion, even if diplomatic, that internet shutdown is important or internet shutdown is not important at this point? I mean, internet was shut down. That is why the video sort of maybe did not come out for like 2 months. But when it did came out, it it really opened the eyes for a lot of people as to what trauma the people in Manipur are going through. But at the same time, it led to it led to humiliation of the women who were involved in this. Maybe if internet wasn't there, if you know if it was if it wasn't there, or if it wasn't started, then probably they wouldn't have put that across. Maybe it wouldn't have come out. So so that is like the question that is coming in my mind, that where does the balance lie in conflict zones, in such places where you should have internet, but at the same time, it is prone to a lot of misuse also.
That is definitely a very sort of complex area to sort of I would say resolve in terms of theoretical theoretical sort of understanding of conflict and and fake news, fake narratives going around on social media. But I would ask you to sort of look back on what had happened in Kashmir when they went through the internet shutdown during the whole the whole act being taken away from JNK's sort of individual identity, and transitioning into becoming um, um, a union territory for the subcontinent. Uh, if you remember what had happened back then, internet has become central in more ways than just spreading news. People are not able to even survive in many areas economically, I would say, um, without internet. So many people lost their jobs uh, during that time because they didn't have access to internet and they um, needed access to internet. So many commercial businesses, so many things happened at the time. And I'm not just talking about fake narratives going around, which is bound to happen regardless. If you're not letting people who are actually suffering, who are actually firsthand experiencing those issues, speak up about them, I don't think there's any point of discussing the issues. If you're not letting actual stories come out of the place, how are you going to form real narratives anyway, right? So I think it's in any way, I think it would always lie in the hands of giving the right to access internet, especially in the areas of conflict. Regardless, it makes sense um, why um, why a government would decide to resort to uh, a shutdown, as you had mentioned, but it is often been the case in India, specifically after Modi, Prime Minister Narendra Modi took the position of in the government, and internet shutdown has been always the first sort of decision they make right after a conflict is let out. I used to live in Jaipur uh, a few years ago back, and we used to experience internet shutdowns for sometimes days and weeks for even the smallest sort of conflict, especially like sexual assault. I remember uh, an area close to mine had a girl had experienced sexual assault, and we had not had internet for 3 days, which is sort of like a strange sort of decision-making process going around by the state of not letting people talk about things which they absolutely have the right to. I think fake news and fake narratives, false narratives can be handled in different ways, and honestly, it's very ironic that um, BJP would support something like false narratives, not which is a different can of worms to open. So let's not discuss that here. But let's come down to the sort of last question for a roundtable. What sort of get into a narrowed down idea? So what does this really say about women in conflict zones? What do we think leaves uh, women are left with in areas that are suffering with conflict, as Sunidhi previously mentioned, Ukrainian and Russian women as well. I would say civilians of almost always suffer the real sort of, violence of war, and it's always the state's lack of um, lack of protection in terms of especially sexual assault that women end up suffering in different ways. So if anyone would like to come forward, yes, Sunidhi.
So I would like boil down to again the same point that when it comes to women in conflict zones, it really doesn't matter that which community is in minority, which is in majority, or who's more powerful and who's not, because irrespective, women from both the sides or from all the sides suffer the most, because if a person from a majority community sort of tries to dominate the minority community by violating the rights of the women, by violating the sanctity of the women, the anger of the community comes up and they do the same thing. We cannot say that that in Russia or Ukraine, the Russians were the only one doing wrong with the women in Ukraine. When the Ukraine invaded Russian territories, when they went, they did not leave the Russian women also. They suffered the same amount. So the women in conflict zones boil down to the fact that they have to protect themselves irrespective where they are, which side they support. They are not even, it's not even about the conflict or the reason of the conflict. They are mere properties to the conflict, which are sort of collateral damages to the conflict.
Thanks, Nidhi. Would Anvita like to add something?
Yes. So I wanted to add on to how the problems of women often get neglected when there is consideration of other issues, like consideration of the so-called prominent issues, right? Like even the basic humanitarian issues, like the access to food, water, healthcare, and education. The thing is, women bear the brunt of these challenges, as they often are responsible for taking care of the family and ensuring their well-being and everything. So the experience of women in conflict zones demonstrate the urgency of recognition and addressing gender specific impacts of these armed conflicts and everything. So I wanted to add that.
Thanks, Anvita, and the others who contributed to these questions. I think it's important to keep the conversation going around the conflict itself until it comes to a fair conclusion, especially after looking after the the grievances and the suffering of both the communities, not just Kuki, who is actually the minority here and is suffering the bouts of violence in different ways. Uh, through religion, through land rights, through gender, through their tribal identities, all of those. Keeping conversation around such a neglected issue that only came forward after such a brutal, such a violent, cruel video came on surface. So thanks everyone for for contributing to the panel, and thanks the viewers for hearing our conversation. We will be meeting again for another edition next month. Thank you.